Longhorns head football coach Charlie Strong coming your way live from Pluckers, the West Campus location here in Austin. Longhorns come off the road win in Lubbock, beating the Texas Tech Red Raiders on Saturday afternoon 45-37, and now back home to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers this week. Texas at 5-4, and feeling like there's a bit of momentum going here now, I would think. Charlie?
Well, you see what happened, Craig. You go and win the last two games, so you have a home game where we would beat Baylor, then you go on the road and you get the victory at Tech. But, you know, the guys are playing very well right now, and they do have a little confidence, and we should have confidence after winning two in a row.
You know, it's an age-old thing about confidence, and sometimes the regular fan doesn't understand what an important element is. They think, well, all these football players are confident. They should be confident when they go on the field, but there's a collective confidence, isn't it, that comes through playing well and getting wins that builds up, that kind of wards off all those bad feelings you try to keep out of your mind when things aren't going well.
Well, when you're not winning, then you don't. It's like you had to continue to talk about it, and you try to build it, and you don't build it until something good happens to you. Then you start feeling good about yourself. But as long as so what has happened in the last 2 weeks, you had some confidence. You really had some really unbelievable opportunities where you've been able to go and get two victories, and so now that just continues to build, and the more that continues to happen for you, then the stronger you get, and your confidence just continues to just grow.
You know, there are a lot of great things that happen out of the last 2 weeks, and certainly in specific on Saturday in Lubbock, and we'll get to some of those as the evening goes along. But just thinking back over those last couple of weeks, two of the things that really stand out to me, well, one of the things for sure is the fact that your guys seem comfortable if they're put in the position and the situation of having to come from behind. You don't want that as a coach. You don't want to have to play from behind, but they've demonstrated that pushed into that corner, they can dig their way out of coming from behind.
You know, Craig, when you look at that game, the play of the game is when we take the ball and it's third down and we get the ball to the end zone and they pull it out and the guy takes off and he goes for the touchdown. Well, he goes, they say, well, he goes 100 yards.
Anybody that looked at the film could see he didn't quite make it to the end.
So what happens is Shane takes off chasing him, and Duvernay is on the other side of the field. And Duvernay takes off, and our whole sideline is watching him run. And they just know he's going to go catch the guy. You know, it is amazing. You can just see the ground that he's making up. And he catches him, and he goes out of bounds on the 2-yard line. But our players saw that play, and it was almost like, okay, guys, I mean, if he's going to show that type of individual effort, then we all can play like this. And it's the whole sideline's watching him, and you can hear him saying, like, go, dude, go, dude, go, 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 go. And he catches the guy at the 2-yard line. And then right after that, we go on a 10-0 run, and we go in at halftime up. You know, it could have been one of those plays where it could have just sucked the life out of you. Then they score, then we go back out and we don't get anything going. Then they go score again, then the game is out of reach early. But that play, and I told our players, I showed them that play, and I said, this is the reason why we won this football game. Look, and you see the individual effort by Deontay. He gets to the end zone. They
from
hit
the
him
24-yard line down to the goal line.
Yes, they hit him like on the 7, and then our whole offensive line just pushes him into the end zone, and then the ball comes out, and then he takes off with it. But just that play right there, it was like, wow. And you're watching it from the sideline. I'm saying to myself, I'm like, oh, he's going to catch him. He's going to catch him. And it is amazing, just a total individual effort from him.
And it's kind of amazing to hear when you tell the story to talk about how a play that wound up being a 14-point swing, instead of you getting the touchdown, they were ruled to have crossed the goal line. Again, the replay shows that Devin Duvernay called him, and he actually was out of bounds of the two. But anyway, that it's a 14-point swing. That kind of play, which could have such psychologically crush you,
could have crushed you,
and yet right. Because of one guy's effort, it energized everybody.
It energized because you look at it, and you just watching from the sideline, and I don't think I've ever been in a game like that where it's such an individual effort where you see a player just run down a guy. And like you said, there's a big swing. It was a 14-point swing. We're going in for the score. They pull the ball out, and then they go get the score. But it was, I mean, I always said it, and I told our coaches, we were sitting there Sunday, I was like, hey, that was the play that won us that football game.
That's interesting to talk about it because you also had some other big individual moments. I think about guys, and it's the sum of the parts, obviously, but I think of Jake Oliver, the guy you like to call Mr.
Yes.
Automatic, and his big catch and run. Clearly, Colin Johnson stepping out with 2 huge touchdown catches in the game. That was very, very big for you. And then at the end of the game, obviously, Chris Boyd. But even before then, Malik stepping up and part of the big sack on Mahomes, a 26-yard loss. All of those things that add up the sum of the parts.
And then you look at the day that Deontay had. I mean, come on, 341 yards. But you're right. There were so many plays. You know, Jake catches that one, and he's going, and it just you was hoping he could go score, and he gets ran down.
Do you give him? Does everybody give him grief for not getting it into the end zone?
He just knows He just knows I'm only gonna get so far, coach. At some point. And then Colin, the 2 plays that he made, getting his foot down for the first down. I mean, for the touchdown. And then Boyd, you're right. And then, even the play before Boyd, PJ drops the interception. So you have a chance to close it out. And Malik, sitting there. And the thing we wanted to do was disrupt the quarterback. And Malik just spied the whole time there. And Mahomes wasn't able to get it. Because once he gets out of the pocket, then he's really effective. He can get rid of the ball. And Malik just spying on him didn't allow that to happen.
Malik talked about after the game, he said, I needed a little bit of collection. He said, I needed a little bit of humbling. I needed to visit with my mom. I had to get right with my coaches and all stuff. Because I know a lot of the media are asking, how could Charlie sit him? Why is he sitting him? He's a guy's a preseason player of the year defensively. And I'm sure that's a coach's feel thing about what you want and expect of him and what you know that he can also expect of himself.
And I told Malik, I said, sometimes you had to take a step back and just look at yourself and you got to evaluate yourself. And I said, do you really think that you're playing up to the level that you should be playing at? And he himself said no. And I said to him, well, we need to do something here because we got to get you going because you're too good. And when you have a good football player, you got to find a way to get him going. And just more than anything, you can't allow him to sit. He's too good of a player.
Then it's on you to try to get him to
you got to get him to play.
Right.
I mean, come on, and I tell our coaches, hey, guys, let's coach. Let's find a way somehow. We got to find a way to touch him and get him going. And you look at the game he had against Baylor, and then he was able to bounce back and have a really good game at Tech.
You get the vibe from him now, watching him on the field and practice this week, quote unquote. He's back. He's back into what you're hoping and wanting out of him.
The thing about it, Craig, he's been there. It's just you expect so much, and sometimes because we see a really outstanding player, we want to see more. And more and more, and that's what he's been giving us these last 2 weeks. Because it's when you look at him and you look at his play, you just he's not playing at the level he should be playing at, and now he is. But he's an outstanding player, and the good thing about him, you can correct him, and it doesn't upset.
He likes being coached.
Yeah, some guys gonna go the other way and they're gonna fight you on it. Whereas with him, he listens, and that's why he's the really good player that he is, because he listens.
All right, we've got a lot to get to on the program. We're going to have a couple of Olympians join us later on in the program from the Texas Longhorn track and field team. Quan Cosby, a broadcast partner on the network, will join us here as we continue with Longhorn Weekly live from Pluckers, the West Campus location, with head coach Charlie Strong here on the Longhorn IMG Radio Network. On third down, with the snap, back to throw, scrambles to the left, looks, fires for the end zone, the pass, intercepted in the end zone. Chris Boyd picks it off, and that'll do it. Boyd with an interception in the end zone. And the Longhorns are going to walk out of Lubbock with a road win against Texas Tech. We welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly. Here live from Pluckers West Campus location with head coach Charlie Strong. Of course, Quan Cosby, the man who was standing on the sidelines forcing the Longhorn IMG Radio Network to see Chris Boyd make the play on that ball. You weren't nervous for a moment. You knew he had it all the way, right?
Not at all. When I saw the ball in the air, which ultimately the way at times Mahomes was throwing it should have been a few more picks, man. But
we missed so many.
we really did. But when I saw him looking back, and only thing I had to do was try not to run on the field this time. But
good.
I held my composure and dodged what's those things? Tortillas.
Yeah.
And just celebrated. So so happy for those guys and then for the defense to hold that offense once again.
Yeah, and Charlie, we were talking about, you said P.J. Locke had a shot at one. There was other big defensive plays. On the play itself, Chris cuts across, makes a great play on the moving in to put himself in position to pick it off.
You know what happened? We were just spying the quarterback because we wanted to force him out of the pocket, which we did. And then once we forced him out of the pocket, let Malik come off and go run him down. And he felt Malik, and then he just let it go. And then you could see Boyd was, standing there next to the receiver. And he high-pointed the ball very well. He went up and got it now. I mean, it was unbelievable high point. But, a play before that, my man P.J. drops it in. Oh, it's right in his hands. I said, come on, P. We just end the game. But it was just the defense needed that just for their confidence to end up on the field and go and get a stop.
And it's good for a young guy like Chris as well, who's really been coming on here in the second half of the season.
Oh, Chris is playing very well right now, and he's one of those guys that he has so much ability. It's just got to calm him down, and then he'll make a mistake, put him back out there, and he is. You always talk about with defensive backs had to have a short memory. Yep. He has a very short memory because he thinking that number one, he didn't ever do nothing wrong. And number two, I'm ready to go play, Coach. I'm ready. I said, all right, ready.
Oh, you love it too because he's so aggressive out there, man. And I think early on in the year, guys were hesitating. Chris Boyd's not doing that. He's going after him, whether it's one-on-one or to go hit somebody. And you can tell he's growing up and getting a little bit smarter with his eyes. He's seeing things. If his guy's running him off and there's something under, he's made a few of those plays where he's knocked that ball out. So it's cool to see him grow, and I think more than anything it has to do with him just being so aggressive. And like you said, you got to have it, and he's very confident.
Yeah.
Like you can see it in every move that he makes, but that's a DB way.
Well, and another guy whose confidence really has picked up a bit, and he's made some places. The guy on the other side, John Bonney, is really stepped up.
The thing about Bonney is that he's always had the ability. It was more or less, he just make the play and don't back down from it. And you look at one of the plays there Saturday, they throw a vertical route, and Bonney knocks the ball away. The receiver standing almost in the back. It's going to be a touchdown, and he knocks the ball away at the last second. But he's really coming on, and he's playing with a lot of but when you get a pass rush, then it's easier for those DBs. Now the quarterback can't, they can't hold the ball, allow routes to develop because you're getting a pass rush, and that's what we've been doing up front really good now. That with Hager, with Roach, with Malik. With all those guys, they put Puna, they putting the pressure on the quarterback, they forced him out of pocket, and those guys are able to cover.
Charlie, I want to ask you about something. I want Quan also to jump in on this, but and that is the word adjustments, because coaches make adjustments. We talked about it in the Baylor game and the adjustments you made, and you ran some zero coverage there, especially in the red zone against them. And then we talked about in the post game in Lubbock about playing man at the start, and Mahomes was getting a little too much time and able to do that, and then getting your guys to adjust to zone. Talk about that, if you will, a little bit, and then Quan, you jump in on too, about the mental adjustment that your guys make when you say, here's what we're going to do now, and how they have to make the adjustment mentally and do what they need to do on the field.
What I did was we started out with a lot of man coverage because we knew we could run with them. And so, and then by going man, I knew I could get them to stand closer, because what I was concerned about is the quarterback getting outside the pocket and just releasing the ball. And if I'm in zone, a lot of times those receivers, they never stop moving. Even when he scrambled, they would scramble with him. So any route that was short, they would run deep. Any route that's deep, they'd come back to him. So, man, I just felt like, okay, I'm going to be standing, at least we'll be standing next to him if he does get out and start scrambling around. And so if you watch the first drive, they hit us a couple of times. Not, you call them pick routes, but we run on different levels. So even with Boyd, such throw the ball out there in the flat. So I said, what we'll do? We're just going to back off. We're going to catch them as they come in our zone, and then we'll be able to break on the ball. We'll be able to see the eyes, because a lot of times when you're in man, you can't see the quarterback. So you're sitting there playing the man. So let's give them a chance where we can see that we can get our eyes on the quarterback, and we can find the receivers that come. And then our guys, they did unbelievable. And then you got to mix up the coverages. I was playing a lot of 2 deep, I was playing 3 deep, I was playing man. I come back with 2 deep, just trying to give him different looks and not giving him the same look over and over.
And it looked like they were comfortable with whatever you were switching to, and going, whether you were going 2 deep, 3 deep, whatever you were going to do. it's like it readily clicked with them.
Well, what happens is when you mix it up for them, you start helping them out too. Because if you continue to go man, they continue to get beat. Then they start kind of feeling down. Like, I mean, they start pressing. You don't want them to press. You want to give them a chance to sit back and catch everything. And so when you make that, we made that adjustment. Me and Vance sitting there talking. I say, Vance said, hey, we need to just mix it up. Let's slow down with the man. Let's give him a little something, and then if we're gonna go man, let's go after him, go pressure him. Right. And we didn't really have to pressure him because we were just playing the technique with the quarter, keeping an eye on the quarterback and everything.
And Quan, from a receiver's perspective, that throws them off. Then all of a sudden, when they're seeing the different coverages there about what they have to try to do.
Well, and even more than a receiver is what you saw when Coach went to zone and then he mixed it up with a man. Is Mahomes was a really good quarterback, but he started thinking. And then the second he started thinking, he was a little bit slower. And then our rush started getting to it. So it all kind of trickled down. And then, like you say, the zone started making plays. Guys started batting balls down, almost getting picks. Should have got some picks. But really, with all of it involved, it just got better. They started locking them down. They tried to run the ball, but the D-line still held their own. So, really, I mean, when they switched to zone, which is cool to see because all the years I played Tech, we had to man them. Now all the years I played Tech, we had junior and senior DBs. So it's a totally different situation.
Sure, absolutely.
Very different situation. So it was cool to see that adjustment and to see everybody respond to it through success, but even more, Mahomes respond to it because he really struggled after that. He completed some, like most quarterbacks in this league will, but he struggled for the most part. And the more he thought, the more he saw 4-6 and those guys running in his face, the more he started getting rid of that ball because he had gotten hit a few times once they went to that.
I see the thing is, and what happens is you're right, you're able to bring the rush now. And you can let those guys just – and I told him, listen, you rush wherever you want to. I want the quarterback flushed. I don't care. Right. And I said, I want to try to keep him – because a lot of times when you flush a quarterback, if you allow him to flush through his throwing hand, you haven't helped yourself because he's going to – but – if you force him away from him, now he's got to throw the ball across his body, and it's harder to throw the ball across your body than it is, when he's running, just flick it out there.
All right, we're going to talk some Longhorn offense, mainly that guy in the backfield there. We'll do all that and more when Longhorn Weekly with head coach Charlie Strong continues here in a moment. For Johnson, he caught in the end zone by Cullen Johnson, touchdown Texas. Johnson with his second catch of the ball game for a score. Welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly. And Colin Johnson, a couple of big touchdown catches in the game. And Colin's a little bit taller than you, Quan. Just a little bit there. So I know it does your heart good to see those big guys go up and get it, too.
Oh, I love it, man. And as a true freshman, too, it's amazing. Craig and Roger so many times say, oh, and there's another true freshman making a play, and another one. But, if I had Colin's body, I'd probably still be playing ball. But, no, man, so happy to see him and Shane connect. And really, it's amazing to see it. I talk about it so many times to those who armchair guys who know football better than most. But I tell them, I was like, it's a process on so many things. And I could see certain times, I was like, oh, man, Colin's in the inside. And just certain things, the way Coach Gilbert developed certain plays and stop these guys and to do the little corner route at times. And, of course, him making the play. But you can just see every game Colin getting better. First it was a hitch. Then it was a curl. Then it was, something on the middle. Well, they missed one of them, but the post.
Right.
But you can just see him growing every week. And, man, what better game. It's weird the way it happened because I remember Malcolm Williams. Mm-hmm. My years was a young guy and had a huge game in Tech. But historically, for some reason, young guys in Tech have always had a coming out party at receiver. So it was cool to see Colin do it.
Well, you look at Colin's body, and he's got height, but he has great body control. And you look at those catches he made. I mean, it's amazing for him to get his foot down. He gets a foot down on the one, going to the far end, then we bring it back in front of our bench. And I was like, wow, man, look at him. And him and Shane are such good friends, and he's looking for him. And he made a hitch. He made a guy miss and got down the field some. But you're right. It's fun to watch how he's just continue to grow and get better and better.
6'6" body, and I have to say, he has a 6'6" body, but he runs like a 6-foot receiver. And his routes are starting to become a 5'10" receiver because typically as smaller guys we run a little bit better routes.
Let's just say keep going. He's going to get to you there in a minute there.
Smaller guys we have to, but you can see, man, this guy, he's a real deal. I can't stand that whole 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, whatever that is. But he's all of it.
He's a 3-star.
No way.
Yes, he was a 3. He didn't play a senior year in high school. He's a 3-star.
Oh, my God.
He's a 3.
Man, those guys know what they're talking about, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
And maybe one of the most impressive things in talking to Sterling Gilbert about it was he said that this group that you have of receivers, they all feed off of one another. They all encourage one another. They all compete with one another, and in the end, it all helps everybody.
Well, if you look at that receiving group, like you look at John Burt, you look at Armani, you look at Hurd, you look at Jake Oliver, you look at Leonard, you look at Colin, you look at Petey. I mean, it's Duvernay. Yeah. I mean, the list just goes on, and it's so competitive. And all those guys know that they're going to, at some point, they're going to get a touch. So it's not like we got a receiver who's sitting there with like 60 catches. I mean, you got a group of guys where you can spread the ball around and you can get the ball in their hands and they can catch the ball and make people miss and go the distance with it.
Now, you do have a running back who has 1,446 yards. He continues to just, I know, amaze a lot of folks with the durability as well as being able to get away from defenses and just how tough he's been.
Well, I mean, it's just fun to watch, and you watch him, and it's like game by game. And you know what, Craig? It's a 1-yard hit. It's a 2-yard hit. Then all of a sudden he's going to break one for about 50. Then it's going to come back. It's going to be a 4. It's going to be an 8. And then all of a sudden he's going to go 70 on you. But he's having an unbelievable year. Our offensive line is doing a great job of blocking for him. And they know if they just give him a crease, he's going to hit it. And it's in the secondary right now. So they better be able to tackle him.
And it's 2 pieces I want to piggyback on. One, that O-line. And it hadn't been the same one. I mean, one guy goes down or one guy gets set down. Whoever's in there is blocking for him. And then 2, my biggest thing about Deontay is how humble he is, man. This dude is having one heck of a season. And we do the post game. And I remember, talking. I was like, hey, man. I was like, are you kidding me? And I said it wrong. I was like, man, you had 310. And Bianca was like, no, it was 341. I was like, what did I miss those 30 yards? But he was like, really? I'm like, dude, hold on. You're not you don't know that you just ran for 300?
Because he's not keeping up with it, is he, Charlie?
You don't know you just ran for 340 yards?
Yeah, it's so funny because after the game, we're standing on the field, and I said to John, I said, God, how many yards did he get? And John's like, 340. I was like, whoa. And I said to him, I said, you got 341. He's like, no, Coach, no, I didn't. I said, yes, you did. So his brother Amani we standing, and then they were down on the other end, so I walked down to where Amani was, and I told him, and then all the players heard, and they all jumped up and just went nuts.
And that's what's so cool about it, how much – and Deontay was doing the interview down there. We were talking, but Armani was in his locker getting undressed, and his smile, it shows how close they are. He was it's like looking like almost like his kid, like, man, so happy for my brother. But it was all of them, the guys jumping around. And, of course, they showed the post game, but that's what you see, man. That's that growth. It's so cool to see and to be in there in the post game to see. But his humbleness tells me everything about his success and why he's going to continue to be successful.
Yeah, something special. All right, coming up, we're going to visit with 2 Olympians who are Texas Longhorns as well. We'll do that when we continue with Longhorn Weekly live from Pluckers, the West Campus location, right here on the Longhorn IMG Radio Network. We welcome you back here to Longhorn Weekly live from Pluckers, the West Campus location. 2 special athletes, special people from the University of Texas. They also happen to be outstanding Olympians. Courtney Okolo and Byron Robinson are with us here. Glad to have you guys with us.
Good to be here.
And I love the Olympic. I was going to ask you, Courtney, what no gold medal here with you? You didn't bring that. Where is your gold medal right now?
It's in my apartment in a safe place.
Okay, well that's probably a good idea. Courtney, of course, the Rio Olympics gold medalist in the 4x400 meter relay, ran the opening leg for Team USA in the prelims and the final. And I can you go down the line and the stuff. Collegiate record holder in the outdoor 400 meter, the 2016 and 2014 Bauer Award finalist for basically the Heisman Trophy of track and field, first team All-American. And then there's Byron Robinson, also an Olympian, and the 2016 Big 12 Conference champion in the 400 meter hurdles. I want to get both of you to talk a little bit about the experience, what it was like to be a part of the U.S. Olympic team to be in Rio and to compete at the highest level in the world? Ladies first. I'll start with you, Courtney.
It was a surreal moment for me. It's something I dreamed about since I was a child. Ever since I started watching the Olympics, I was like, wow, I want to be there. So to actually be there was like a dream come true for me.
Byron, how about you?
Pretty much like a lot the same that Courtney just finished saying. For me, it was a big learning experience. I was actually happy to be there, so I can like just watch everybody else in the sport and just like their daily routines and just learn so much from them.
You know what? We think about the Olympics being a time of performance, and it really is. But also, and I think you made a great point there, Byron, that you get a chance in a venue with the best athletes in the world to kind of observe, ask some questions, exchange of information, I guess, a little bit.
Right. It's kind of weird because like a 10 or 15-minute conversation with somebody there was like 5 years worth of like just like asking around like back home or something like that.
Did you do the same thing, Courtney?
Yeah, definitely. Just some of the girls that were even on the relay with me, they've all had experience. 2 of them had already been to the Olympics before, so we were just new kids on the block learning from all the veterans.
How much excitement and also responsibility do both of you feel, because you're carrying the American flag with you, so to speak. You're a big part of that. How much excitement and responsibility did you feel alternately doing that?
Yeah, it was a lot of excitement. We represent Texas, so coming here, going to the Olympics, we're representing the United States, so it was a bigger weight on our shoulders, but at the same time, we understood like how much more it meant. So it was just a blessing just to have that experience.
For me, to be honest, it was kind of hard at times because, like, sometimes I just want to, like, just look out the window, like we was in the village, just yell out because it was so exciting. But, I mean, I had to remember why I was there for, keep it bottled up, take it all out on the track. Yeah.
Now, you brought up the Olympic Village, and I want to get to that in a minute because I want you guys to share some stories about what it was like. But before we get to that, can you describe the feeling of walking into the stadium there in Rio with Team USA? Let me start with you, Byron, and what that feeling was like to be able to go through with your fellow U.S. Olympians.
Well, like first walking in, I felt like my heart dropped. Like, because when you first walk in, when you're about to compete, and you just look around and you see like a packed stadium, it's crazy. I don't know how football players can do it. Like, it was really like a surreal moment. It took a lot to keep it all bottled up and just focus on like getting around that track for 400 meters, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same thing. For me, I didn't run to the end, so I kind of got to see all the other races and see how packed, to know how it was going to be when I finally ran. But when I got there, I mean, watching on TV doesn't compare to what it was really like.
Sure, no doubt about that. All right, we're going to have more with Byron Robinson, with Courtney Okolo coming up. We're going to talk more about the Olympics and running track at the University of Texas as well, when Longhorn Weekly, live from Pluckers, the West Campus location, continues in a moment. Our special guest during this portion of Longhorn Weekly, Courtney Okolo, Olympic gold medalist. Byron Robinson, also a participant in the Rio Olympics as well, and 2 of them champions in the Big 12 Conference. All right, you brought up the Olympic Village, and Courtney, you brought up the fact that you're running late in the games. Describe what it was like there in the Village. What was that like? How much interacting did you do with athletes, not only from other parts that are on Team USA, but internationally as well? What was that experience like being there? Were you in there the full 2 weeks in the Village?
I was there the whole
So what did you do for 2 weeks in the Olympic Village?
I just enjoyed myself. There's a lot of sports going on, so I made sure to support all the things that were going on. And after a while, you get used to it. So it was a great experience.
Was it kind of like a college experience?
Yeah, it was. Like, I guess you could say, like how you have dorms. I guess they're nicer than what dorms were. So yeah, after a while, you start to be like, okay, this is getting used to this bed. This is my bed now. And then, so it was a good enough time to get used to everything.
Byron, what about your experience in the Village?
Well, I didn't really do too much. Only time I really left my room was to get something to eat. And my roommate was one of my old teammates before I transferred at Penn State. So he kept me laughing the whole time to get my mind like off the tracks. I wouldn't like stress out too much. So, I mean, outside of that, I didn't really like do too much mingling. I think I'm a little socially awkward anyway. So
oh, you really?
It wouldn't have worked out for me.
Yeah, I got you. Now, but you and Courtney, you would obviously run into other athletes from other nations and stuff when you're around in the Village. I know there's a language barrier with some, but there's some you're able to communicate with some?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, we kind of knew who they were, so the famous athletes or just other NCAA athletes that I knew that ran track. So you'd run into people at the cafeteria. The whole place was just athletes. So there's no way you couldn't run into other athletes. So it was just a great environment. I've never been in anything like that before.
Was there any one member of any athlete on any nation, as well as U.S., that you really wanted to meet when you were there? And did you get a chance to meet that athlete?
Yeah, I wanted to meet Venus and Serena Williams, and I got to.
Did you get to meet the Williams sisters?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't there very long, were they?
Well, I met them on the plane going to
okay. Yeah, Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about you, Byron? Was anybody there that you, like you said, I know you didn't leave the village, the dorm area that much, but there was somebody in your mind you really wanted to have an opportunity to get to know?
Absolutely. I really, really, really wanted to, formally meet LaShawn Merritt.
Yeah.
It just didn't have. I just didn't have it in me to go to.
Really? You did say you were a little bit shy.
Yeah.
Let me get your thoughts, both of you, on what's coming up. Courtney, I'm told that people kind of stop what they're doing and watch you at practice because you have this knack for making things look easy in the process. You've been described as a bit of a machine in that. Is there a real natural feel to what you do, or is all of that through all the years of training?
I guess running is a little bit natural to me. I enjoy it, so I don't know, I just run. I think people know more than I do. I don't know if it looks easy. It certainly doesn't feel easy all the time.
No,
so.
She's a beast. Don't. She's humble, so she's not gonna come out and say it. But Courtney is a machine. When she get going, you have to watch her go.
Really, people just stop what they're doing. They want to watch her when she's really moving.
You got to stop her.
Yeah. Byron, the 4x400 relay team broke the school record indoor and outdoor in 2016. I know how motivated you were about that, and to be as kind of unassuming, and you mentioned your words were socially awkward, yet everybody tells me you're extremely confident in your skills and abilities.
I am confident. I absolutely do think I'm the best that does what I do. All my teammates know. I let them know every time I get a chance to. Well, hopefully. Even
though you were one of the youngest and least experienced Olympic athletes there, right?
Right, but not once did I ever doubt my presence there. I always felt like I worked hard and I earned my way there, and it was always going to work out for me. And you felt like you belonged as well, didn't you, Courtney?
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to ask you, Byron, when you are in a field of tremendously skilled and talented athletes, everybody's believing in themselves that I can do this. I can get to, like you said, you're very, very confident. What's the edge? What makes the difference? Because I always hear everybody's incredibly fast, but it comes down to a mental edge sometimes or something like that. Is it something like that?
I think it's a mental thing, because once like you said, once you get to a certain level, everybody's going to be fast, and everybody's going to be talking about how confident they are, but everybody's not really as confident as they say they are. And the best way to tell is through their actions. Some people rise to the occasion, some people don't.
Yeah. Do you carry that kind of confidence every time you go onto the track?
I try to, but that's a very good point, what he was saying. We're all, at this level, we're all very talented, and we work hard to get here. So when it comes down to it, the thing that separates, I guess, first place from last place is the mental capacity that you have to show up at that day and do what you know you can. So that's very important. Which brings us to the next point. What's next? What's next for each of you? What are the next goals that you have in mind for yourself and for the team as well? Goals for me is just to be consistent and to keep progressing and getting better. It's easy to just say a time, but at the end of the day, you have to just work at it and keep progressing. And I think for me, that's just the goal is not just for something this year. It's a long-term career for me. So any progress that I can get is just, that's the ultimate goal. Like Tokyo in 2020? Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Byron?
To be honest, I just want to have a season where I can go through it and be healthy. I feel like as long as I'm healthy and out on the track, everything else will take care of itself. I mean, of course, I want like national championships and USA trials again next Olympics, but all that's going to take care of itself. I just got to do my part.
Okay. It's great to see both of you guys. Congratulations on a great year, and appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
All right. Courtney Okola, Byron Robinson. Coming up, more with head coach Charlie Strong when Longhorn Weekly continues live from Pluckers, the West Campus location, right here on the Longhorn IMG Radio Network. It is another handoff. Back to Foreman. Breaks a tackle. Say goodnight to it. Deontay takes it home. 38 yards for the touchdown. Deontay Foreman has crossed the 200-yard threshold this afternoon on that 38-yard touchdown run. We welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly. That was just the run that put Deontay Foreman above 200 yards, not the one that put him above 300. That was the 38-yard time. But once he got through the hole, like you said, he's going to be into the secondary, and most of the time when you go through that quickly, they're not going to get it.
They're not going to get him. You know the one you really like is when the shoe came off. The guy talking, and my man ran it with 1 foot. I was like, wow, look at that. And I walked out there. That's the play that McMillan got hurt. Yep. So I saw the shoe there, and I said, Jake, is that your shoe? And he's like, no. He said, he says Deontay's. I was like, wow.
Well, you brought up Jake McMillan, and I know he's trying to bounce back from injury. And you pointed this out. You said that you've been able to build depth along that offensive front, whether Jake was going at left guard or Patrick Vahe, didn't matter. They both started. They both contributed. They both, been a factor for you. So having that kind of depth there, and on the opposite side as well, you get Tristan Nicholson back this week. All of those things really help, doesn't it?
Well, what's been good, and you don't ever want to see injury, but we've had injury, and then guys have been able to come in, and they've been played very well. Because you look at Jake. So you go out there on Saturday is Shaq, is Jake, and then it's Pert, it's Connor, and we started off not with Chickerson, actually with Hodges,
right?
And then Nicholson came in and played some. But you have a chance to balance these guys up, and they play a lot of it.
Well, and it keeps even your mainstream guys there on the offensive front fresh, doesn't it? It keeps a Connor Williams fresh. It keeps Shaq fresh when you're there in the fourth quarter of a ball game.
Well, they're so fresh because a lot of guys are playing. So when you get a lot of guys are playing, then you're able to keep them fresh. And because there's different guys now, you can come back and you can go put a Tristan in, or you can put just an assortment of guys that we got sitting there. You can get those guys in the game.
We got a few questions from here in the restaurant. This one from Nick, who wants to know if you have any specific pregame rituals, things that you normally do, whether it's with the team or just by yourself, or do you have a pregame ritual?
No, you know what? I kind of like. Saturday morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to go run or something wherever we are. Mm-hmm. Just find me a route. Where we stayed at there in Lubbock, I was able to run down to the stadium and run through their campus and come back out. But it's always where I'm going to try to get me some type of run in, and then I come back and I get the team up. And so the team will do a walk together, and then we'll come back and meet or eat breakfast or whatever we have to do.
Yeah. This one from Jalen wants to know that, or Jalen wanting to know, 3 games left in the season. What kinds of things do you say to them to keep the performance at a high level mentally? We got 3 weeks to go in the regular season.
Well, you make it a one-game season, and you just say, hey, let's just get ready for this one now. It's all about West Virginia, and we need to take care of business, need to play well, but it's all you're always talking about the opponent, and we try to just make sure that it's now, that we're living in it now, not try to look down the road.
Michael wants to know, in your opinion, do you have one specific defensive player who has stepped up the most over these past 2 to 3 weeks?
Well, probably Chris Boyd, and you can put him, Boyd and Bonning, both together, because those two guys are playing very well at the defensive backs, but they're playing very well.
Well, and like we said, you pointed out that Malik has been playing well. He's been playing well, but he managed to take it to a higher level over the past couple of weeks.
He's taken it to a higher level, but those two guys have really come on for us, because we knew what Malik can do, but now you're seeing those two guys emerge, and they're playing very well on the corner.
Cameron with a question, and this was something that you brought up several weeks ago when you said we're so much more capable of playing so much better than what we do. What's the biggest difference between overperforming and underperforming that has a team that can do that one way or the other? And you, like you said, we've underperformed some, and now performing at a much higher level.
It's all about your focus, and you got to have guys that are focused, they're locked in, and the concentration's got to be there. And it starts with meetings, and what we usually do, we'll start on Fridays with our meetings, and then at night we'll meet a little, then they get them back up on Saturday. But they have to be locked in, and we have a young team, they don't really understand it in the beginning because they're probably so used to, hey, we're going to go play a game, and they think they get ready to play the game when you kick it off. No,
and they get by on their athleticism in high school, right?
Yeah, but no. I said preparation ends when the kicker foot hits the ball. That's when we stop preparing.
Well, and I've heard coaches say this many, many times, that you get the hay in the barn before Saturday, so that if they're properly prepared and they're properly motivated, then they go out and they're able to do all the things that you envision them being able to do.
Without a doubt, because they're ready to go play. But you can't wait until Saturday to start getting your mind ready to go play. It's a build-up, and then, because when you get to the kickoff, you're like so set that you can just play the game. You can just sit there and like, hey, it's going to happen to me, and all these good things are going to happen, and we're going to be ready to go.
All right, we have one more question. I'm going to save it for our final segment because it has to do with West Virginia. We are going to talk about the West Virginia Mountaineers, this week's opponent. That's up next when we come back with Longhorn Weekly with head coach Charlie Strong, and we'll continue in a moment. Mahomes out of the shotgun with the snap, back to throw. Steps up in the pocket. Now it's the scramble right, being chased. Retreats further. The Longhorns have him. Malik Jefferson wrestles him out of bounds with Bryce Cottrell all the way back near midfield. A huge defensive stand, and the Longhorns take over on downs at the midfield stripe. We welcome you back here to Longhorn Weekly. 26 yards loss on that sack. Malik did a lot of that. Bryce Cottrell pitched it in on that as well. And like you said, being able to get after the quarterback, that makes it also easier on your secondary.
Well, it's critical. And he was a quarterback that moved around in the pocket, so you wanted to force him. And if you could get to him, you knew you was going to lose yardage. But what you didn't want to do is force him out of the pocket and give him an open window to throw the football.
Let's talk a little bit about West Virginia. You were telling Quan when we were during the breaks, you said one of the things that really stood out to you is that they don't make many mistakes. And if you've got a football team you're facing that doesn't make many mistakes, obviously means you can't make many mistakes either.
No, they don't. And they're so well coached. And you look at them on offense, they're going to run the football. They're going to take their shots down the field. And if it's not there, they're going to continue to just pound you. And they want to win it on defense. They're so disrupted on defense. It's all about the rhythm, and they want to stop reading it. And if you can disrupt the rhythm of an offense and you're playing good defense, then that's what they've been doing. That's what they've been living on right now. So it's going to be so critical for us that we got to be able to run the football. We're going to have to control the line of scrimmage and just take what they give us. Don't force anything. Just take what they give us.
Toward that end, and this gets to that one last question we had from here in the restaurant. This is from John, who says West Virginia is known at times for running a deep cover one on first down and then on second and long. Would that open up the possibility for Shane to be able to go over to the middle of the field?
But man, John's been studying West Virginia.
Right? He's been watching film.
One, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's they're in the 3-3-5, and it's they play a lot of three deep out of their 3-3-5. So you'll be able to see the corners move around, and you'll be able to pick up the blitzes because of the way they align.
Let me get your thoughts first of all on the fact that this is a team. I couldn't believe it. I had to read the number again to myself. They have 16 fifth-year seniors.
Yes.
I can't remember looking at a football team that had 16 fifth-year seniors.
I need that many.
Yeah, you take half of them, right?
Hey, I need that many. Do I have any fifth-year seniors? Maybe one or two. But it's the SEAL team, so you know that the team has been built for 16 fifth-year seniors. And now they're coming up to their last year, and that's why they're in position they're in.
Well, and in visiting with Dana Holgerson this week, one of the things he told me was he said, we had several guys who were sophomores and juniors who didn't play a lot last year, but they were in the mix, but they played enough, and I know coaches like this, to where you can just shuttle those guys right in when they're replacing the guys who graduate.
And they did. And you're right, because they played enough. And so now, like you look at their offensive line, they have 3 seniors and a junior. So and their quarterback's been there a while, the running back. So they are a veteran team on both sides of the ball. They may have lost some guys on defense, but they still played enough guys.
All right, it'll be Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Another 11 a.m. kick will be on the air at 10 a.m. from Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium, the Texas Longhorns and the West Virginia Mountaineers. For head coach Charlie Strong, I'm Craig Way. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week at the same time here on Longhorn Weekly.